Right there is my very first pitch in the big leagues. The very first one.
What happened to it?
It went right down the middle for a strike against Detroit.
Guy knows his stuff. Bobby Ojeda giving us the tour of his cool room in his Monmouth County home. Now, when you think of the '86 Mets pitching staff, you think of Dwight Gooden, Ron Darling, but it was Ojeda who won the biggest game of that magical season. But there's always more to a guy's story than just one game, right? Then and now with Bobby O. Met fans will fondly recall Bobby Ojeda as an 18-game winner on their 1986 World Championship pitching staff. But do you remember Ojeda's first team, the Boston Red Sox? He came up with them in 1980.
That was some awesome hair back in the early 80s.
I tried the stash a couple years ago, but my kids just, they're like...
Have they seen pictures of you with the afro? They have seen it.
Yeah, I told them, I said, I was hot. I said, that was hot. Okay, that was the 80s, it was hot. And they just, then they go throw up and come back.
Hairstyles aside, Ojeda was one of 3 young Red Sox left-handers, along with Bruce Hurst and John Tudor, who broke the mold and found success pitching in Fenway Park. But it was August of '81 at Yankee Stadium where Bobby Ojeda found himself on the verge of a no-hitter against the Yankees.
It was huge. I just remember the game unfolding. You go through 1, 2, 3 innings, which is whatever. Then you start getting in the middle, 4, 5. You're like, 5, that's pretty good. And then 6 goes by, and now each inning becomes, this huge uptick in like, oh my God, I'm that much closer.
To the 9th inning, and leadoff pinch hitter Rick Cerrone.
And it's to right center, deep, and Dwight Evans can't get it. It's to the wall. Cerrone's got 2. He will hold with a double.
Do you know how close Evans came to catching that thing? Have you seen it?
Pretty close.
Pretty close.
And I was telling you, that he did creep in before, just
Come on.
in case. He creeped in, he told me after, he said, and he actually said, I'm not sure I should have done that. And I'm like,
no kidding.
really? Thanks.
Following the '85 season, Ojeda was traded to the Mets, and as fate would have it, with those Mets trailing Boston 2-0 in the 1986 World Series, who was standing on the mound at Fenway Park ready to save the season? Bobby Ojeda. What was that like?
It was extremely personal. It was for me. It was not just a game. It wasn't just the World Series. It was like, I'm facing these guys that have been teammates for some years. Some very good friends on that team, and I had some people that I really couldn't wait to beat.
Namely his former manager, John McNamara, and 2 members of the Boston ownership, Haywood Sullivan and John Harrington.
John McNamara, I met him the year before in spring training. He goes, and I'm on the team, '85. He goes, yeah, I saw you pitch once in 1981 during the strike. You throw the ball okay. I'm like, John, I shut the Angels out twice last year. You were their manager. Did you forget that part? So I'm like, I know I'm out of here.
Then, the night before Game 3 in Boston, who should Bobby Ojeda run into on the elevator at the hotel but...
The elevator doors open up, and there's Haywood Sullivan and John Harrington with cigars the size of one of these crew boats, like this. And they're just high-fiving themselves. And they give a very sarcastic, good luck tomorrow. And I'm like, okay.
What came next? 7 innings, 1 run, 5 hits, 6 strikeouts, and the Mets bouncing back to win the series in 7.
I had control because I was on the mound. So that was the beauty of it. I'm not a coach. I'm not a fan. I'm not a trainer. I'm not left field. I got the ball in my hand, completely and largely in control.
Have you ever pitched a better game?
No. And you know why? Because if I'd have failed, I'd have been dragging it around forever. I couldn't have written a better payback for people who were extremely arrogant. The fact that I was on such a great team with a great group of guys, I'll never forget that feeling. It was just euphoric.
Payback. Yeah, nice to see somebody admit that for once. Right, a couple of side notes. Bobby Ojeda also went on to pitch for the Dodgers. The Indians made a brief stop with the Yankees in 1994 before hanging them up. And if you recall, baseball's longest game, 33 innings between the Pawtucket Red Sox and the Rochester Red Wings in 1981. Bobby Ojeda pitched 1 inning, the 33rd inning, and he was the winning pitcher. That's our show. Thanks for watching. Have a great week, everybody.